King Vorlag ruled the Obsidian Peaks, a sovereign of fire and scale, his domain carved from ancient volcanoes and shadowed valleys. His strength was legendary, his breath a scorching inferno, his justice swift and unwavering. The great halls of his keep, forged from black basalt and molten gold, hummed with the power of his lineage, awaiting the arrival of a true-born heir to carry the legacy of the Sky Scorcher clan. Anticipation crackled through the Dragon Kingdom like static before a lightning storm. Whispers among the scaled courtiers spoke of a princess, fiery and fierce, destined to soar above even her mighty father. Prayers were offered to the deep earth and the high winds for a robust, perfect dragoness, a symbol of their enduring power and Vorlag's divine favor. When Princess Ignis finally emerged from her egg, the air in the birthing chamber, usually thick with celebratory roars, was instead choked with a chilling silence. Vorlag, who had watched countless hatchlings break free, felt a cold dread settle in his chest, a sensation more potent than any frost dragon's breath. Her scales, the expected obsidian and molten gold, were dull, almost sickly pale in places, and one of her delicate, still moist wings lay shriveled and stunted against her small flank. It was barely half the size of its magnificent twin, a crumpled, useless thing that would never carry her skyward. Vorlag, usually a mountain of stoic resolve, roared, a sound torn more from grief than anger. He cradled his deformed daughter, his vast claws trembling, his heart a tempest of shame and despair. How could this be? How could the bloodline of the Sky Scorcher yield such a flawed gem? The kingdom soon heard the hushed whispers. A cursed birth. An ill omen. The initial joy curdled into a pervasive fear. The priests of the deep earth spoke of divine displeasure, while the warlords of distant peaks saw an opportunity, a sign of weakness in the king's previously unassailable reign. The Royal Council, a collection of ancient, hardened dragons, met in hushed, tense sessions. Their loyalties, once absolute, now wavered. Lord Varkan, a powerful, ambitious general from the Ironclaw Mountains, openly questioned the king's mandate, implying Ignis's birth was proof of Vorlag's waning favor with the ancestral spirits. Vorlag, consumed by a need to mend what the world saw as broken, scoured the lands. He dispatched his fastest scouts to seek out ancient healers, sought the advice of reclusive mountain mystics, and paid king's ransoms for alchemists whose elixirs promised miracles. Each returned with the same grim news: the deformity was intrinsic, beyond their power to mend. Princess Ignis grew, largely confined to the inner chambers of the keep. Her deformity, a constant reminder of her difference, kept her isolated. Other hatchlings, sleek and full of boisterous energy, would gaze at her with wide, uncomprehending eyes, then quickly retreat, drawn away by worried parents. Yet, despite her isolation and the pity that veiled the gazes of the few attendants who saw her, Ignis was not a bitter child. Her eyes, the deep gold of a dragon's hoard, brimmed with an unyielding curiosity, and her spirit, unburdened by the expectations of the outside world, remained remarkably gentle and perceptive. Vorlag watched her from afar, his mighty heart aching. He had built an empire of strength, but he could not provide his daughter the one thing she craved, the sky. The weight of his kingship, usually a source of immense pride, became an unbearable burden of helplessness and profound, isolating grief. The cracks in Vorlag's rule widened into chasms. Lord Varkan's open dissent gained traction. The king's sorrow, his preoccupation with his cursed child, was interpreted as a sign of weakness, a distraction that left the kingdom vulnerable. The Obsidian Peaks, once united under Vorlag's iron claw, teetered on the brink of civil unrest. It was into this volatile landscape that Lunaria stepped, a solitary figure against the stark, jagged horizon. She was a woman of impossible contrasts. Sharp, angular features softened by eyes that held the wisdom of ancient forests, movements both graceful and ruthlessly efficient. She carried a blade at her hip, intricately carved with symbols of both predator and prey. Lunaria was a hybrid, a rare, almost mythical creature, born of a shapeshifter's wild spirit and a witch's disciplined, magic-attuned blood. Her senses were honed to an impossible degree, her body capable of fluid, instantaneous transformations, her mind a repository of lore on poisons, beasts, and the subtle energies of the world. She had no home, no clan, belonging fully to neither the primal shifters nor the stoic witcher brotherhoods. Feared for her power, misunderstood for her dual nature, Lunaria wandered, a ghost between worlds, drawn by the whispers of magic and distress that resonated across the continent. Rumors of the Dragon King's despair and the mysterious, cursed, princess had finally reached her, a faint but persistent hum against the background noise of the world. She sought no reward, only understanding, an innate drive to uncover the truth behind the fear, to find a pattern in the chaos. Lunaria approached the obsidian keep with a hunter's caution, her true form masked by the unassuming shape of a mountain lynx. She observed for days, noting the rigid patrols, the nervous energy radiating from within the basalt walls, the profound sadness that seemed to cling to the very stones. When she finally assumed her human form and presented herself at the gates, the dragon guards, towering figures of scaled muscle, met her with suspicion bordering on hostility. Her unkempt, wild appearance and the strange, arcane symbols adorning her leather armor marked her as an outsider, perhaps a sorceress, certainly a threat. King Vorlag, though intrigued by the peculiar traveler, dismissed her without a second thought. He had no time for drifters, no patience for what he perceived as further distractions from his daughter's plight and his kingdom's looming instability. He commanded her to leave, his voice rumbling like an earthquake. Yet, as Lunaria turned to depart, a flash of movement caught her eye. A small, pale dragoness, peering from a narrow, high window of the keep, her large, golden eyes fixed on the strange woman below. It was Ignis, her stunted wing barely visible, her gaze filled with an intense, boundless curiosity. Lunaria paused, her witcher senses piercing the layers of pity and fear that surrounded the princess. She saw not deformity, but a vibrant spirit, an inner light struggling to shine. Her heart, often a cold, pragmatic engine, stirred with an unexpected wave of empathy for the isolated child. That night, Lunaria returned. Not through the gates, but as a shadow slipping between the crags, changing into a swift-winged falcon to reach the princess's high window. Ignis, far from being startled, greeted her with a shy smile, as if she had been waiting for just such a visitor. A quiet, unlikely friendship began. Lunaria didn't offer a cure for Ignis's wing. She offered something far more profound. She taught the princess to stretch her remaining, good wing, to understand the currents of the air, to find balance in her own unique way. She taught her simple witcher charms, little sparks of protective magic, and how to shift her perspective, to see her difference not as a curse, but as a unique design. Under Lunaria's quiet, patient tutelage, Ignis began to transform. She still couldn't fly, but she learned to climb the treacherous inner walls of the keep with surprising agility, using her strong claws and the strength Lunaria helped her build. Her once timid voice grew confident, her golden eyes sparkling with newfound determination. The whispers of rebellion, once distant, became a deafening roar. Lord Varkan, emboldened by the king's perceived weakness, launched his rebellion, his forces marching on the obsidian keep. He declared Vorlag unfit to rule, citing the cursed princess as the ultimate proof of his unworthiness. The keep became a fortress under siege. Dragon warriors clashed outside the walls, their roars shaking the very foundations. Inside, chaos threatened to erupt. Ignis, protected in the deepest chambers, listened, her small heart pounding, but her spirit, unlike before, did not falter. Then, at a critical moment, when Varkan's forces breached the outer defenses, Lunaria burst into action. Shifting between the lightning-fast form of a dire wolf and the deadly grace of a human witcher, she engaged the enemy, a whirlwind of blades and primal power, carving a path through the invaders, her loyalty to the lonely princess absolute. In the ensuing chaos, Ignis, remembering Lunaria's lessons, found herself at a crucial vantage point. Seeing her father's guards overwhelmed, she emitted a guttural, unexpectedly powerful roar, not of fear, but of defiance. Then, using her one strong wing, she launched herself from a high ledge, not to fly, but to fall, guiding her descent with surprising control. Her unexpected, chaotic dive disrupted the enemy lines, buying precious moments for Vorlag's forces to regroup. Vorlag, fighting fiercely on the front lines, witnessed his daughter's incredible act of courage. He saw not a deformity, but an indomitable spirit, a leader forged in adversity. He saw Lunaria, fighting like a demon, protecting Ignis with her very life. In that moment, his perception of strength, of leadership, shattered and reformed. Lord Varkan's rebellion was crushed, his forces routed by the combined might of Vorlag's fury, Lunaria's unconventional prowess, and the unexpected, courageous intervention of the cursed princess. The Obsidian Peaks, though scarred by battle, found a new, deeper understanding of strength. Ignis was acknowledged not just as Vorlag's daughter, but as a symbol of resilience, her unique form a testament to inner power rather than outward perfection. Her name, once whispered with pity, was now spoken with admiration. Lunaria, the outcast hybrid, found a home and a purpose, becoming a trusted advisor and the fiercely loyal guardian of Princess Ignis. The Dragon King had learned that true strength was not in physical perfection, but in the unwavering spirit, the unexpected alliance, and the love that saw beyond the surface.